And then maybe we'll ask Jeff about what he thinks Rebellion is all about. That makes it so divisive.
Oh, man.
Hello and welcome to Madoka Magicast, a podcast devoted to the dark magical girl anime Puella Magi Madoka Magica. I'm your host Amanda, and it's another week where I am not joined by my co-hosts Yasha and Vanna, because they are owners of the biggest revolutionary girl Utena website, Empty Movement, and they are very busy right now with a new Utena musical that came out about a month or 6 weeks ago or so now, and they are still totally not curating that musical that they totally did not bring back over from Japan so that people in the English community could totally not watch it on the internet. So they have not had time to record an episode with me yet. However, we do have it scheduled, so I'm really sorry to everybody for making you wait. But we have another Familairs episode for everybody this week. This week, we are being joined by Alice, who is our producer Panda's co-host for Imagine Me and Utena, the Revolutionary Girl Utena podcast. Hi there, Alice.
Hi.
And we also have Jeff, also known as Hey Boots, who I know from the Empty Movement Discord and also the Madoka Magicast Discord, who just kind of seems to know everybody in our circle.
I've been on all of Panda's podcasts.
Okay.
And, being on the one she produces. I'm just going for that hat trick.
Cool. Nice to meet you. If you're one of the cool people, then I guess it was just a matter of time before I ended up having you on the podcast or talking to you eventually.
Don't assume I'm cool.
Nobody here is cool. It's okay. I think an obligation, like an important requirement to be on this podcast is to be as uncool of a person as possible, so don't worry. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording, but Alice and Jeff, you guys know each other previously as well, right?
Yes, that's true.
Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, so I have a group of friends I've been playing tabletop games with on the internet for like 2 years now.
Cool.
And about 6 months ago, I don't remember exactly, I'm bad at time and dates, Alice started playing with us as well. And so she's been playing our games, and now we're all together playing games every Wednesday night at roughly 9 p.m.
Okay, alright. Well then good, so you guys don't have to introduce yourselves to each other, but why don't you introduce yourselves to our listeners? And then, not just a bigger, maybe a little bit more of an introduction, like, can you tell us your history about anime and Myth Magical Girls? Let's start with that, maybe. Alice?
Okay, so...
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your anime nerddom.
So... I think the first anime that I actually watched is probably Dragon Ball Z, because I live in America and I was born after 1990, but before 1998. So you have to, by law.
Yes.
But the first anime I actually was really big into was Wolf's Rain.
Okay.
I obsessed over Wolf's Rain. I really, really got into it. Have you ever seen Wolf's Rain?
I have not. Jeff, have you ever seen it?
I've never heard of it at all.
Wolf's Rain is hella depressing.
No.
Oh god, like it is incredibly depressing. It's super bleak. How hopeless it is, I have had discussions about, but it's also really good, and I think it's Shaft. I feel like I'm gonna be wrong at that and realize the horror later. And it got me really interested in sort of the shorter and artsier kind of anime, I guess you could say.
Okay.
I hadn't really connected with shonen shows as much. And I
Right.
figured maybe it was just that one kind of thing I liked until I realized I actually kind of really like Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura especially.
See, that's Cardcaptor Sakura is one of those shows that I remember being on TV as just card captors, like in English, and not thinking it was all that great back in the day when it was on US TV, and then never going back and watching it again. So I kind of know it.
The dub, from what I've been told, the dub is not great.
It's not good. It's not good at all.
I should really watch it because that's like a Magical Girl staple, and it's kind of ridiculous that I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's really good as a sort of as a magical anime and just in general. It is Claim is weird, and one of their weirdnesses is that all their anime are like about 8 episodes too long.
Oh no, really?
No, that's one thing that's weird about Clamp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean there are lots of things. I just wanted to say one of them. There are other weird things about Cardcaptor specifically, but I'll get into that now. I kind of fell off the anime train until about college, and then I realized that Crunchyroll exists, so I could just stream it from my bed without having to leave, and that's all I ever did. And also that I found out that those really awesome like manga that like everyone had in high school, but I never able to get any good ones. Yeah, you could just get those for free on the internet. You can find scans of them.
Yeah.
And I did.
Just Google it.
Brilliant.
The good old piracy that none of us on this show ever do.
Oh, I would never advocate for that.
I would never, ever advocate piracy. Ever.
Real talk, buying the manga is good. Having it in your hand is good.
It really is. It really is. And I have a full manga shelf to prove it. Unless, of course, we have a Netflix Evangelion situation where you can't get a version of the show that is no longer being sold for absolutely no reason whatsoever. So, if when you're Googling on the internet and you're trying to find a way to watch that, just make sure, look really well on the website you're looking at to see if it's legal or not. Even if it has to play in the background while you're searching. It's fine. Well, and how about you, Jeff? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your anime history?
So I have super vague memories of watching the original Dragon Ball when it was on like Saturday mornings in like the early 90s when I was like 6 or 7 probably.
Right.
And then I went through your standard, teenage boy anime phase where I watched all the stuff on Toonami, all the Dragon Ball Z's and the Yu Yu Haga shows and all the other stuff that was around there. And I did like Sailor Moon. I remember in high school, this is like 2012, a friend of mine, she lent me her bootleg Sailor Moon VHSs for Supers. No, S. I never saw Supers at all. So I had these. This is back because this was back when it was like the room like everyone talked about in high school about how they like censored the outer senshis, like relationship and stuff, and cousins, all this stuff.
Right.
So I remember watching these tapes, and they weren't. I didn't have all of them. I had like most of them, so I don't think I even saw the end of the season. But I remember watching these tapes in my room at like 10 at night on like a school night, just like popping a tape in, watch it for like 3 hours, go to bed at midnight. On these like really grainy like tapes that somebody obviously just like made in their basement and made copies, and you bought them and they mailed them to you because that's how you got anime in the 90s and the early 2000s because you couldn't get anything. But I really do like magic. I never really like think of myself as like an anime fan, but I do watch a lot of anime, so it's probably just like kind of a academic thing at this point. Like I've seen a ton of stuff just all over the place. I've seen a bunch of like weird magical stuff. I watched Synchro Gears once, which is really strange.
What was it?
It was called like Synchro Gears or something. It's this weird one where like all the girls like they would sing to make like robot suits, and then they fight in the robot suits. It's really strange.
Wow, that sounds pretty anime.
It wasn't very good, but like I'm kind of the person that like if you start watching something for like half a season, I'm like, well, I just gotta finish it now. I guess whatever.
Whoa. Okay, you possess this superpower of actually finishing a show after you lose interest in it halfway through.
I'm really stubborn.
Oh my gosh. This is incredible. Please teach your ways to me, because I do not have that power.
Well, the problem with, like, I haven't watched a ton of Magical stuff lately, because it's hard to find stuff that's not, like, they don't, like, do those weird lingering shots on, like, the pervy shit. I hate that, because it's, like, out of place. Because, like, I watched Flip Flappers, because another friend of mine was super into that, like, last year. And it was a cool show, but they still had those shots. I'm like, just cut them out. It's fine. You don't need this shit. Because, like, you don't... I don't understand who the target is for that, because like the content of the show and like those scenes, it seemed just to be there for like the animators to like not hate themselves while they're doing stuff, because like I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a consistent theme on this show. None of us get it, so we're with you on that. I'm sure there's probably at least a few people out there listening to our show who are into that stuff. Send us an email if you want to explain yourself. We'd love to hear from you. But in general, yeah, we are not fans of that kind of stuff here on Madoka Magicast, which is kind of, I think, why we like something a little bit closer to Madoka Magica.
One last thing is, I like this genre specifically.
Okay.
Because Alice can attest to this. Is I am a noted witch liker. I like the aesthetic. I like cute witches. I like mean witches. I like weird, gory shit. I like creepy, like non-Euclidean shit that happens like in Madoka. I like everything. I love all of it, and I can't get enough. And I'm not at all super transparent about this whatsoever.
I mean, your Discord thing is literally a witch, so.
I mean, it's okay. You know, everyone's got their aesthetic. My aesthetic is just magical girls in general. So what can I say? I'm currently sitting in my Sailor Moon room with purple painted walls and tons of posters all over the place, which I'm now realizing I should post some pictures to Twitter since I had it finished and I promised that. Anyway, off topic. So, Madoka Magica then. Let's talk about that, the subject of our discussion here today. How did y'all find Madoka Magica? Let's start with that. Like, tell us your initial experience.
So, I didn't really have a lot of it spoiled for me.
Ooh.
I was told that I was warned a little bit up front that like it could get a little dark, but also the people selling me that also knew what kind of anime I liked, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Right.
I was not expecting it to be dark in the way it was. I'm assuming that I can be like talk spoiler talk right now.
Okay, so we'll get into this in a second, but Jeff has not seen Rebellion, so everything up to Rebellion.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about Rebellion yet, but like, for instance, Mommy getting her head cut off, like, her head chopped off. Like, I did not see that coming.
Well, specifically bit off. You know, the difference between... That's an important distinction to make there.
Yeah, I was just not seeing that coming, and it was like, oh my god. And that took me off guard, but... The reason I actually really liked it was because I recognized what they were doing vis-a-vis Faust, the various forms of Faust.
Yeah.
And I just liked it more as I dug into that and found out how not only had they really sort of created a work that was not just a little bit like Faust, but very like Faust, they had actually encoded the lines from Faust into the visuals of the anime.
Really? Now, hold on. Can we put a pin in that and come back to that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I can tell you about that later. Okay. But yeah, and it just kind of became one of my favorites. Madoka's probably my favorite. I'm not as big on the movies, but I also don't hate them quite as passionately as other people do, mostly because, well, I'd have to care about them to hate them. And to me,
that's fair.
The show kind of ends on that last episode, and that's good enough for me.
I wish I could have that kind of zen relationship with the movies that you have, honestly.
It's okay. I used to care about things too, and then I experienced Star Trek being reborn into Star Trek Enterprise, and now I can no longer feel pain.
Oh no. Well, it's okay. I mean, it's okay. I think we've all just kind of stopped feeling pain over the last several years for various reasons, so don't worry about it. I have to say, I used to be a lot more upset about the movies than I am now. I actually think doing this podcast has been very therapeutic, because I've finally been able to say my piece about it.
You can just talk through those feelings.
It helps that they're visually beautiful, to be fair.
They are. They really are. And they're gorgeous. Also, they're worth watching.
When you watch it, Jeff, the scariest scene in all of Madoka, like the generally most tense and terrifying scene, is in that movie, and it was so scary that I had trouble watching it on YouTube.
All right, now you're gonna have to tell me what scene you're talking about.
Oh well.
Oh, where were we?
Me.
I'm sorry, Jeff. Yes. Sorry.
For me, this is years and years ago before I moved to my house. I had a lot of free time, so I had watched all of Legend of Galactic Heroes, which is a very big anime. Not about magical girls. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'm like, I need something new to watch. I don't know what to do now, because I don't want to watch TV because it's garbage. So I back-to-back watched Utena.
Okay.
And then I watched Madoka.
Oh, boy.
At the recommendation of this friend of mine. And she told me the basic, like, it's more a darker kind of more don't want to say like adult oriented, but like more mature take on the stuff without being like it's adult like Western animation has adult animation that shit.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anything else. So I don't really engage with like fandom, and I just kind of like if I don't really know about something, I just kind of breeze past on the internet.
Right.
So I didn't know any of the I didn't know something big happened in episode 3. I didn't know any of the stuff. I didn't know any of the points. They just catch up with me as you watch through this, and I did. I loved it a lot because for me, the biggest thing about this show for me personally was the visual aesthetic, especially the witches.
Yeah.
And like the weird contrast between like your standard like very anime-esque characters with like the weird like non-Euclidean like mixed media witch zones, which I loved a lot because it's really cool.
Oh, they're
really
amazing.
Refreshing to see something that's like different in a show like this because you get a lot of samey stuff in Western animation and animes all over because people find something that works and they just keep doing it. And there's not a lot as much like innovation in the field, which for this there was. And generally, I like stories that like I don't like bad things to happen forever. Like having tragedy in a piece of media is fine, but like I want some kind of at least like melancholy to happy ending and not like just tragedy the whole time.
I can definitely agree with you on that. Well, although I know there is some. Yeah, I know that there's there is room for disagreement on that, but I feel very similarly with a lot of the media that I
at least we'll say that feels hopeful, even if maybe it doesn't for all the characters, but like the themes of the show, regardless how some of the characters are treated through the end of it, can be different. Then those things aren't always exactly the same,
right?
Which I can appreciate because and Alice, you know all about this. I was also an English major. In college, I read a lot of books. I did a lot of lit critique.
Right.
So I tend to pick up on some of that stuff, although I can be pretty daft sometimes. But I tend to have more like a visceral eye for the kind of stuff that stories do without maybe necessarily knowing exactly how to put it into words. So I really appreciate when you can kind of see some intent by an author in a piece of work to do something that's a little more interesting than your standard piece of media out there, which is super nice.
Yeah, and I would definitely say that Madoka qualifies as one of those kind of shows.
Madoka is an interesting study in the idea that a lot of what you do in writing is gambit. Like that there are points where people can be you can kind of when you lean on certain kinds of elements in fiction enough and you do so without immediate fruit, or even when you do have sort of immediate into it, you can burn people out really bad. And Madoka manages not to do that mostly. And it's really fascinating because it's like, how does it manage to not do that?
Well, it's short for one.
Which is that was my conclusion as well. Is that this is if this were like if this were like 2 seasons, it would not have worked.
No, it would be it couldn't be as nonstop depressing, I guess, as it actually is. Had that been what they decided to do with it, like to make it longer than it is. I mean, that's the only way I could think of it working, and that's kind of eventually on this show we're going to talk about Magia Record, which is the cell phone game. But Magia Record has a whole bunch of new magical girls in it, like a lot. And one of the ways that I think that they avoid that is, a lot of the stuff that happens with those girls in it kind of ends up feeling like fluff. But it's because it can't all be misery all the time. Because, like what you're just saying, like, either the show is short, which is what they went with it, or it can't be misery all the time. Because then it's like, okay, we're doing this again.
Yeah, and you can do longer shows that can be very intense on the sort of misery index. You can do a lot of things in fiction. You can kind of do anything in fiction. The real question is not can you do a thing. It's can you do a thing well and skillfully in a way that people will accept it? But you wanted me to put a pin in the other thing.
Oh,
you want to do something before that?
No. I mean, was there anything else you wanted to mention, Jeff, about your experience with Madoka the first time?
I can say that I'm not, like I said, I'm pretty daft sometimes when it comes to like close reading unless I'm like doing it with someone else or like really looking. So, like, there was still a ton of stuff I didn't really pick up on until I listened to the podcast and watched again this last, that's like last month, I think. I watched the whole thing because I want to watch the stream for the last episode, so I didn't remember. But not really. Like, I'm pretty lax about, like, enjoying things. Like, I tend to just, like, kind of take things at face value, whether they're good or bad, and still enjoy them, which is, a good skill to have, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, like, nothing's perfect, and, it's fine to acknowledge the pros and cons and, like, positive negatives of a work without, like, getting too caught up in, like, being, like, a super fan about it or defending it or like, hating it or whatever. Like,
yeah.
It's fine to like things that are bad. It's fine to not like things that are good. There's nothing wrong with you.
That's fine. That's good. So let me just say, Jeff, it sounds like you're maybe not super familiar with magical girl shows, and Alice, you might be a little bit more familiar.
Moderately so, yeah.
I'm pretty familiar. I haven't watched a ton of recent ones, but I've watched a bunch of them. Like, I've seen all the card captors.
Okay. So neither of you would consider yourselves, like, noobs to the genre.
No.
Like, you're kind of genre savvy.
Yeah.
Okay, alright. Okay, cool. Well then, in that case, Alice, I know you really want to tell us about what you had mentioned, and I really want to hear it, because this is actually something that's come up on this show before, and we just never got to it. So please tell us about this Faustian visual entwinement in Madoka.
Okay, so I read I would like to say first off that Madoka is not a one-for-one with Faust. Any version of the story. It's not. It would be really weird if it was, because she's not an alchemist or any of that.
Yeah.
There are symbols that are present throughout the story that you see. The witch alphabet.
Yeah.
Those mean something. And
that's like an actual alphabet used in the show.
Yes, and several times in the first episode, as I think it's the first 2 episodes, there's like graffiti on the walls and stuff floating around in the witch realm and all that, and like it is actually famous lines from Goethe's Faustus.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wait, you know what? You're right. I'm remembering this because this was something that I was telling Yasha and Vanna to not look up because it would spoil the show.
Yeah, like
yeah.
They were like, it's kind of amazing just how weirdly obvious they were about it in hindsight, because like, I mean, they're literally like, they're just, am I allowed to curse on here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, they're just fucking with you.
This is a show with Yasha and Vanna in it. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We talk about dicks and golden showers and whatever else comes up on this show all the time, so go for it.
They were just fucking with you. They're fucking with you the whole time. Yeah. The whole first 3 episodes is them fucking with you. Like, they're literally putting Faust on the walls. They are literally talking about contracts. They are reframing the whole magical girl shtick in terms of like weirdly specific language, and it's just like you look back and realize, God, I feel like someone has just been like. It's not so much that you go look back and go, oh, as you look back, you feel kind of like as if someone has had you on, you know?
They got me.
Someone has been screwing with you forever, and like you were too dumb, and you look back and realize that they've been doing it to you this whole time.
You know, that might be the best explanation I've heard yet on this show for how I felt when I watched the show for the first time. I guess my audio cut off for a little while there, and I was just rambling.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In silence.
It's fine. Alice was explaining Faust to me.
Oh, please explain it to me too, because I was just talking about how I've never read Faust and don't know a whole lot about it, even though I get the basic stuff up with it, you know?
That's exactly what I said.
Okay.
Tease the pod.
Very, very quick. There are several different versions of Faust. The one that from what I can tell, that Monica's really referring back to, and the one that they actually are quoting on the walls, is Goethe's, the German author. I think that's how you say it. It's Goethe, right? Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. And basically, Mephistopheles is the devil, and he makes a bet with God.
I know that part, yeah.
Mephistopheles.
Oh, who is that?
My beloved is correcting me because she's a fool. My fiance is correcting my pronunciation. She doesn't realize that I'm doing this on purpose to spite her. It's my devious plan. But anyway, so it starts in heaven. He goes to heaven. It's kind of like in Job, and he makes a bet with God, very much like Job, that I can take your favorite human, one of your favorite little pet humans, and I can fuck him up. And God's like, fine, I'll take that deal. Like, he's pretty great. There's no way you can fuck him up. And then he proceeds to go to Earth, and the favorite human is Faust, because Faust is a super genius. He is perfectly good and perfectly smart and just generally a good boy. And he starts without any kind of outside influence that you can see. He despairs of all of his pursuits, science, his humanitarian stuff, his religious learning, and his despair that none of it means anything. He turns to magic, hoping that magic will fix all of his problems. And
Okay.
Chasing that high, right?
yeah, and he just it doesn't seem like it's gonna work. And then he's followed home by a stray poodle, which ends up being the devil, Mephistopheles, whatever. And Faust makes an arrangement with this devil. You do everything that I need you to do, and I want you to do while I'm on Earth. In exchange, I'll be your servant when I die and go to hell. And their arrangement specifically is that if Faust is if this Mephistopheles does such a good job that Faust is happy forever, he will die on the spot. And that will be it. He'll go down to hell and be Mephistopheles' doorman forever. They sign Pact in Blood, all that kind of stuff. And then Faust meets a girl. I think her name's Gretchen or something.
Yes, because that's also come up in the past, because that's the name of Madoka's witch form.
Yeah, he loves her, and he's not necessarily very good at this. He gets the devil to help him, and his efforts to do this actually fuck up his romance. Because, he tries to basically, give her mom a sleeping potion. So that they can have a night alone together, because, I don't know, it's Germany and the Renaissance, and she dies.
Oh no!
And then she finds out that she's pregnant this whole time, and then her brother, challenges Faust to a duel, and then just dies on the spot because the devil kills him. And it just his whole life just goes horribly wrong. And then it just kind of starts over.
What do you mean? Well, hold on. I interject as I shove a Tootsie Roll in my mouth. What do you mean it starts over? What do you mean by that?
Faust Part 2 might as well be an entirely different book.
Okay.
Faust Part 2, at the end of Faust Part 1, everything is just destroyed. And the best that Faust can do is that Gretchen gets to go to heaven, because she didn't do anything wrong. Though I will note that there is a version of the story where she doesn't. She goes straight to hell.
Well, I mean, they had extramarital engagement.
Yes, exactly. The earlier version of it, she just straight up she is condemned. But Part 2 is a completely different story, because it just starts over, where he just wakes up in a field of fairies, and there's a bunch of acts, and it's vaguely episodic, and the whole thing is just multi-100-page excuse to cram a bunch of illusion in. And Faust goes to heaven, but only halfway, because he only lost half the bet or something. And you could talk a lot about it, but for Madoka's sake, there's an interesting thing here where the second part almost hits a reset button. And a lot of the concerns and a lot of the triumphs and travails of the first part go completely out the window. Not so much that they are abandoned, it's just
right.
You know.
So, what does the literary community generally think about Part 2 of Faust versus Part 1? Is there any particular prevailing take on it?
Funny it acts at the JSTOR still.
They say a lot of things. Goethe's take on Faust in the second part is a lot more. He is a lot more sympathetic to Faust. Usually the Legend of Faust includes that he just dies in the end. His attempts to make everything better don't really go well, and then he ends up ruining everything that he really wanted, and selling his soul on the cheap for nothing. And Goethe's Faust ends with him going to heaven. Goethe's Faust ends with because he's a romantic hero. like that by
Right.
trying to transcend the boundaries of what he knew, because his original whole thing was infinite knowledge. And part of his whole romance with Gretchen was being able to, like, he thought the two of them could transcend normal life.
Well, that's really the theme on a lot of those, because, like, you know, a big thing has been in literature a lot is someone who thinks they know better than, say, God.
Yeah.
And then they try to fix things the way they think is best, but no one has perfect knowledge except, you know, God in these cases. So sadly, people get punished in these stories, which, you know, makes a lot of sense because probably a lot of where they came from.
Yeah.
And he ends up, Faust actually ends up not having to be punished. Right at the last moment, after everything, like the last thing that goes wrong is that Mephistopheles murders an old couple because he kind of willfully misinterprets Faust's orders. And Faust is just like, he goes blind. Everything is awful. He's like, anything that you do for me now is going to just be ashes. And he has a sort of like a kind of dark night of the soul. And during that, Mephistopheles thinks that he's won the bet and is dragging him to hell when he is saved. And one of the ones that saves him is actually Gretchen.
Oh.
They send him back up. And literally speaking, like, German literature was not my strong point, but I know that a lot of people talk about the second part and the first part very separately, and also the second part they deal with it as a story that is fundamentally religious in nature, about the idea of grace and the idea of kind of like there is only so far that human beings can sort of stretch out their hands for things before that act is punished. It's hubris, like Jeff was saying earlier. Inevitably offers kind of a solution to that in terms of a Christian solution. How much you take Goethe on that kind of depends. I don't know as much about Goethe, but yeah.
You know, I have to say you did a pretty good job selling me the story. I kind of feel like I need to read it now.
If you can ever see, there's a musical, but for like fancy people. Opera.
Really?
Opera. There's an opera of Faust, which I highly recommend. It's very good. And also, there is another take on it that was actually orchestrated by the man himself, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's actually really cool. All right, then this is a gap in my media knowledge. I need to probably go read this.
Yeah, the Germans are really like that story. I don't know why.
All right, well, cool. Yeah. Now I'm like, now where do we go with this conversation?
I was actually ask Jeff, because you like the witches, right?
Yes.
Which one is do you have a favorite? And like, do you have any thoughts about how they kind of did the witches aesthetically? Is also kind of like maybe why they did that.
Yeah, God, it's all the exact details escape me when now they asked me this directly. But just like in general, the ones that really leaned hard on making everything look like really disjointed and like out of place with the rest of the world, like the ones that went really hard on the mixed media and like making things like paper, like water, or like any other kind of stuff that wasn't animation.
Right.
I love that shit. It's so good. Like for the specific like visual theme to that stuff, like it just washed over me. And I'm sure on some like visceral level, I like understand some of it, which is kind of what they intend. But like, I haven't like gone back and like just taken like a good hard look at some of that stuff, like, you know, freezing, looking at screenshots and such. But just aesthetically, like, I love that. I love stuff that's like chaotic, but it still like has some sort of like discernible form, and like it looks like the whole thing's like a collage or something. You get cutting pieces out of like magazines and books, and just like all that stuff.
It is chaos, but it's similar to the kind of bizarre visuals in Utena where it's like you can sense a certain degree of internal logic to it, and that's very enticing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like it makes you want to, at least for me, that's what makes me want to sit there and pause on screenshots and be like, okay, what are they going for here?
Yeah, because you can tell there's a lot of like thought put in like specific stuff in this stuff, but like it's things you're not going to notice just like watching the show a couple times.
It all just goes by so fast.
Yeah. Just because it's a constant barrage of information. And the human brain can only take so much before it just does like, okay, that's fine, I'm just shut down now.
Yeah, well that makes Madoka a good show for multiple watches. And same thing with Utena. that's the kind of stuff that makes Utena like better with each subsequent rewatch, in my opinion.
Yeah, that visual storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
There's a common joke going around like the video games where games bandy about the visual storytelling is always like a skeleton, like a bathtub or something, like something really lame.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And there's like a couple objects by it. I'm like, come on, that's who cares?
That's like the easiest possible way you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna stare hard at Bethesda right now. But this is not a Bethesda podcast. So.
I just love the first witch, which the wiki tells me is named Gertrude.
Yes.
Because, like, besides the garden, the rose garden kind of thing to her, I liked that, but I love that the minions had mustaches. It's so childish, and that makes it worse somehow.
Those are the Cotton Puff mustache minions. I think they're called Anthony's.
Yes, they are called Anthony's, and the big ones are called Adalberts.
Ooh.
And it's like...
The big ones are the ones that have, like, 8 or 9 eyes, right?
Yeah. Oh, apparently they speak German. Of course they...
Yes.
Of course they freaking speak German.
I think my personal favorite witch is probably the one, and I've said this before on the show, but it's the one where, you remember the scene where Madoka follows Hitomi into that building, and then there's a bunch of people who are about to kill themselves with poisonous gas.
Yeah, they're gonna mix like ammonia and bleach or something, make chlorine.
Yeah, and she runs into that witch that comes after her when she's hiding like in a broom closet, and to pull her into the labyrinth that like tears her to pieces.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that witch. That's a good one. And then it's the one where it's all like a merry-go-round with like 8-bit old computer graphics on the inside. That's my favorite witch personally. I always wish we got to see more of that witch. Yeah. That's the one that straight up has the silhouette of a girl in like on the witch itself. So that's another one of those things where you're like, oh, okay, this is being telegraphed. It's only in hindsight.
I was amazed when you were talking about the witch in the hospital, in that it was the girl who, like, it was basically like half an hour between her wish and becoming a witch. It was like because she made a dumb wish and her mom died.
Yeah,
I didn't know any of that because it's all like not in the show, and I never really like go and do research about anything.
Right.
So like I'm like, holy shit. It's fucking
I mean that is all. I think that was originally from an interview, or maybe like that's the kind of thing you read on the wiki, and the source for that is like a drama CD or an interview or something really obscure that the English fandom wouldn't have been exposed to.
You never get that shit over here.
I know, and I wish we did.
I did not know.
Somebody bring us all the light novels.
By the way, I did not know that there was a mobile game, and apparently there's a mobile game.
It's in English now. I played for a week and I stopped because I can't stand those gachas after a little while. I get really frustrated.
It is very repetitive. Unfortunately, I have an addictive personality, so I'm enjoying the heck out of it. You should play it, Alice. I'll add you as a friend on my friend list.
I may consider this.
But it's fine. We got the best Japan exclusive content a couple weeks ago when the David Hayter and the guy who did Kaz and Metal Gear recorded the scene where they fight in the sauna in Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. So that's really all I care about.
You know, I don't need to be a fan of Metal Gear to know that whatever you're referring to, it's very gay.
Extremely.
Okay, I know enough about Metal Gear to know that. Metal Gear is if you took JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and you made it like more explicitly about war in the military.
That's really it.
Yeah,
kind of. I dig for some of the subtext sometimes. It's not just text. Kojima does what Kojima wants.
Yes. But anyway, again, this is not a Metal Gear podcast.
I love how... So we were talking about the witch I was just been thinking about, because I actually found a list of all the witches and that are named, and thinking about how, like, I love how they all have very childish aesthetics, and how perverse that is.
Yes.
It's like a lot of these are like literally, you know, there's that trope in a lot of media with the whole like child draws really fucked up thing.
Oh, like the red rum kind of cliche.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like they're all literally just that. There's literally a witch of chocolate.
Yep.
Like she's a chocolate bunny.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I know.
That's
why. I think that's really interesting because the thing that Cube says near the end of this, I don't know exactly what episode, where he's talking about how, like, magical girls become witches, and witches are basically, like, adults in this metaphor he's making.
Right.
Except, like, it's a lot like adulthood as viewed through the lens of a child, where you just indulge all the things you want, and like it's all the same things, but just bigger and more powerful. And there's no like thought to, hey, what's being an adult really like, which is interesting, I think.
The whole thing in Evangelion where there are children piloting around gigantic bodies that kind of are theirs and kind of aren't. This is a metaphor for adolescence.
Yeah, it is kind of a, like, really openly so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room in this imagery in that, but that's neither here nor there.
I feel like we should probably have a whole separate side episode devoted to Evangelion. It gets mentioned on this show so often.
There's lots of, I mean, there are quite a few parallels, especially the fact that they are both really concerned with the ways in which adults or just anyone manipulates and exploits children. How kids can be manipulated, exploited.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, what Kyobi is actively preying on children's goodwill and innocence,
and ignorance, and inability to like ask more specific questions in their own best interest, and like
they even ask him about it, and he's just straight up like, "Yeah, we could have done this a different way, but like this is way more efficient."
Yeah, I don't think Cuba ever says at any point, "Hey, don't tell anybody." He doesn't need to, because kids won't, because they're dumb. Kids are dumb.
Yeah, like I've mentioned this before. Like he goes after people specifically who will not. He's a predator. Like he's gonna go after people who are not going to question this system and ask the right questions. He's not going to go after the kid who's going to run and tell their parents. Predators go after the kids who aren't going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Not to suddenly get very dark, but unfortunately, that is kind of like the kind of manipulator that he is.
It's explicitly like what he is, and
yeah.
Sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
It's also okay to like at least view those kinds of stories through a medium that's not explicitly about everything being terrible forever, because they do break that cycle at some point,
right?
And it's not real life stories of children being abused and shit, so it's more palatable.
Okay, now that might be a good way to segue into our final bit here that we've discussed, because Jeff, you have never seen any of the movies, including the Rebellion movie, correct?
Yeah, that's true. I have been downloaded on my computer for literal years. I've never touched them.
And Alice, you have seen all the movies, including the Rebellion movie.
Yep.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do to close out this episode of Familairs. Jeff, I want you to predict to us, even if it's just totally off the cuff, what you think happens in Rebellion, even if it's funny and crazy or whatever, and we will rate it, me and Alice will rate it in terms of its accuracy, and let's say, what are the axes here that we're gonna rate this? Accuracy, plausibility, and shitpostery.
Okay, I have one question first, though.
Okay.
The movie, is it like a parallel thing, or is it like it explicitly takes place after the events of the show?
Oh, it takes place after the events of the show.
Okay, so I should assume that what happened in the show is canon when the movie starts?
Yes.
Roughly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what I think. If it's like that, then it's gonna the beginning is gonna be the universe in which Madoka has air quotes fixed everything.
Okay.
I would say that I've heard basically I've heard is that like since it kind of supersedes the stuff she did, I imagine that it goes into more like the weird witchy magic power shit that Hamura does at the very end of the show. I think it goes into more how she is, I guess, well, obviously she's doing how she's doing with the fall of everything that happened, but I think specifically it's doing like a really weirdly intricate dive into like her emotional states as things go forward, like probably as are reflected by the monsters she's fighting and whatnot. Are there new magic girls? Like tons of them, or some of them?
Are there, you're asking?
Yeah, I'm asking.
There is one new magic girl.
Only one?
Well...
Only one.
Oh, I wanted to say something dubious, but yes, there is one.
Nope. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think you will like her.
Okay. I'm gonna make a wild prediction that this new magical girl is very similar to that new girl that just appears out of nowhere in the new Evangelion movies. that she's just not in the show. She just shows up out of nowhere like a stolen Ava, and she's just there now.
No.
And she enjoyed. And oh god.
Well,
I love Maki, but yeah, she is kind of like pointless. I love her though, but no, like this one makes sense.
sort of.
Mostly.
Well, I've always felt that Maki is like the symbolic stand-in for the people who watched Evangelion who are like, wow, cool fucking robots. I want to fly those robots. And that's her whole character. So this new Magic Girl is she's super into it. I don't think she regrets it. But she's also an antagonist because maybe she doesn't take it seriously enough for Hamura, because Hamura knows the real deal. I don't know. God, what can I do? But I imagine that through the movie, there is very clearly some effort by, I assume, Hamura. Maybe she's the villain now. She's trying to extract Madoka's essence from the universe and make her a person again. But you can't do that. That'd fuck everything up. Because everything would go back to the way it was, and it would just be bad times. Imagine that's probably what happened.
That is a thing you are spinning right there. That's a tail.
Okay. So here's our three categories to rate this theory. What was it? Accuracy, plausibility, and shitpostery. Let's see. On a plausibility scale, I'd give it 5 stars. Sounds pretty plausible. That's a decent guess as to what.
One more thing. I guess.
Okay.
There would be a Cube, but it would just be like dark colored instead because it's evil.
It's a Shadow the Hedgehog version of Cube.
Yes.
So you mean basically just an Umbreon?
Sure. Oh
yeah. It would look like an Umbreon. I'm gonna give you a 7. I'm gonna give you a 7.
Out of what?
Out of 10. 7 QBs out of 10 QBs.
On plausibility?
Yes.
Now on accuracy, I'm gonna have to give you 1 star out of 5. So that's be fine. Like a 2 out of 10. Unfortunately,
I don't want to be right.
Everything that you'd expect would happen does not happen from the very beginning. So maybe that makes you want to watch it more. Maybe not. I don't know. What do you think, Alice?
I think you should watch the movie.
I think it should post more if it'll help. I mean, I will watch it.
I think you should watch it, and when you do, I really want to know what you think.
Yeah.
I watch it when the episode comes out I'll watch it before.
I'm dying to know.
Yeah, it should be interesting. We are still working on scheduling that, just because Josh and Vaughn are so busy right now, and they're a lot of what they're streaming is just Uchina stuff for their own site. So we just haven't scheduled it yet, but we are working on it. I promise everybody. We're gonna let you know when that's been scheduled. When this episode comes out, it might be scheduled already. You should check the Magicast Twitter, Madoka Magicast on Twitter. And the date for when we're gonna stream that should be up. But yeah, it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to that discussion. We have so many people who want to come on the show for that episode, and it's so hard to tell people, like, listen, the episode's gonna be like 8 hours long if we have all these people come on to talk about it. It's really sad.
But you want to make more content on the internet?
I do, but like, I can't sit here for my entire weekend and record. I do have a little bit of a life to
just do the Star Wars Minute, but for Madoka instead.
The Star Wars Minute? What is that?
It's a podcast where a bunch of people watched 1 minute of Star Wars every episode and just went deep into it for like half an hour.
I would watch that.
Oh my god!
Like literally minute by minute.
I kind of really love this, and I might want to watch it now or listen to it.
Thanks for the is years old now. I think.
Thanks for the podcast rec.
High school.
Thank you for the podcast rec. Sounds great.
Oh, you're welcome. I never actually listened to it. I just know about it from.
Okay, and then on shitpostery, I'll give you 3 stars.
I could have done better. I didn't have time to.
I'm honestly, I'm disappointed. I was really expecting you to just go all out and just go the most meme. I'm gonna have to give you 4 stars. I'm sorry. I expected more memes.
I haven't made use of my Masters of Meme studies in years.
Okay, well, now you owe us a makeup exam next week.
Also, I really want you to see the new magical girl, because I know you will love her.
She's okay. We could probably have a whole episode just devoted to talking about her.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's another big topic. Hey, maybe you could come back for that episode. We could talk about whether you like her or not. Anyway, Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. Maybe Alice can come back to tell us even more about Faust or something. Well, anyway, we should probably cut that off here because I've come up right up to the limit of what y'all said you were willing to record for. And I don't want to push it too far. But thank you so much for coming on this emergency guest episode here. Really, really appreciate it. We basically organized this episode like this afternoon, like less than 12 hours ago. So thank you so much, and I'm sure all of our listeners are thanking you guys as well for coming on to have a little discussion here to tide us over into our upcoming episodes about the movies. And if you guys would like to let everyone know where to find you on the internet, if you want to be found anywhere, want to do a little promotion, go for it.
Sure. I'm on Twitter at HeyBoots. You can follow me if you want. I most just kind of shit post all day and don't post that much. I also play tabletop games with my friends on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. We have a thread on the LP Zone. It's lp.zone. Just go on there. It's a cool place for doing Let's Plays. That's not something awful. How about that?
How about that?
I can be found at Lyrewolf. That's at LYREWULF. And that's on Twitter. And that's about it for me.
Okay, well, thank you guys for coming on the show again. And you can follow me on Twitter at Lambda Power. So that's Lambda, like the Greek letter, and then Power. And you can also find everything else I do, my articles, fan art, visual novels, all the stuff I'm always doing. I do too much stuff, but all that stuff. You can find that at oddlasdo.card, CARRD.co. Also, follow all of the shows, various social medias. Links to that is at Madoka Magicast, CARRD.co. And check our Twitter for upcoming streaming dates or news about the show. And before I forget, all of the pins have been mailed out. So if you have not received your pin and you ordered one, and you don't get it in the next week or so, since I mailed them out probably at least a week ago now, including the international ones, you should be getting it. If you don't get it, give me a call. I'll look up your tracking number and we'll find out where it is. I have extras if we need to replace them, so don't worry. You will definitely get your pin. And that's pretty much it. All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll hopefully see you next week with a new episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.